Hey, oh my goodness, it is so good to be back. I know that I was planning on being back much sooner, but let's just say that maternity leave ended up being much longer than I intended for it to. Lots of things happened, and that's partially about what I'm going to share with you today. So, I have had to update my base budget more times than my brain and postpartum brain and exhaustion and all the things had wanted to do. And that is what I'm going to share with you. All the many updates that we have made to the budget and everything that goes along with it. All of the stress and overwhelm, all of the decision making and working together to budget in a way that, it just brings us joy, but also keeps us financially stable. But most importantly, living in financial peace rather than the stress and overwhelm that can so easily come with living on one income, right? So go get your drink, open your heart to God, and let's dive in. But before we go too much deeper into today's episode, I want to share with you, if you don't already know, that I have a wonderful community out there called the Budgeting with Confidence community. This is a great community where you can get more support, not only from me, but from other mamas who, have already went through what you're going through with the same struggles. So I want to invite you to come over and join the community. Let's connect. Let's get to know each other. I know you're getting to know me a lot, because you get to listen to all my stories, but I don't get the same thing, right? I don't get to know who you are. So I would love for you to come join the community so that we can connect, we can work together, we can answer each other's questions, because I'm sure that there's things in life that I don't know and there's things that you don't know, and we can just, have the fun little mama group, and connect and get all our budgeting questions answered, and maybe even some life things answered, because living on one income is not easy, and when you get together with other like minds, you can really figure things out and not feel alone. I know that's one thing in this time of age where we really feel alone, because I don't know, I was just talking to my husband the other day where I just felt like we are living in a time of age where we're just isolated from everybody. And instead of getting like parenting questions answered from your family, because, way back when you used to live together with your family and you just work together and get it all figured out. But nowadays you just go off and do your own thing. And when you have parenting questions or budgeting questions, you look online or you look to a book, right? So let's make our own community where we can connect and just answer all our one income questions. And then I can come in and answer your budgeting questions as well, right? So come over, join the community. If you also would like to get deeper into what it is that I talk about, like to know, the things that extra tips. That's kind of what I'm trying to spit out, man. My brain these days just is not 100% there. So if I stumble a lot, I apologize in advance. But what I'm trying to spit out is that I also have an email list that I called my insiders list. And this is where you get the extra tips about budgeting, where you can really just talk to me personally if you don't want to be putting your stuff out there for everyone to see, because I know with budgeting it's really personal and it can be hard. So if you want to just ask me simple questions, and join the email list and let's talk that way as well. And maybe you don't have Facebook, so you can also join the email list, and that's another way that I can support you and get to know you, and we can create wonderful, beautiful friendships, right? Okay, you can find those links in the show notes if you are looking for them. But with that being said, let's jump on into the episode. If you're ready to build wealth, ensure financial security, stop overspending, and finally create a budget you can stick to, you mama are in the right place. Hi, I'm Molly, a budget coach and financial strategist who went from living paycheck to paycheck to paying off debt, saving money, and going on vacation, all by budgeting. And I help mamas just like you budget and create God-centered systems and routines so that you too can have financial freedom. Now stop pinching those pennies and let's dive in. Alrighty, so if you have been following me over the last year, you would know that I had a baby last December and that he made his way into the world, one crazy thing after another, and there's just been bills upon bills upon bills piling up, right? Because, that's just what happens when it comes to having a baby. Most of the time, we have had like money saved up in advance to be able to cover the costs that like insurance wouldn't cost. But that did not happen this time. So instead, we've been paying off bills as quickly as possible, which is kind of a spoiler on what today's episode is. But I really want to talk about like what it is that happens to your budget when you have a baby, because sometimes that's not something. Well, not sometimes. That is not something that's usually thought about when it comes to having a baby. Like, you're so excited, you're going to have this baby, but then there are a lot of financial aspects that come to having a baby or come with having a baby. And that's kind of what today's episode is going to talk to you about. I'm going to tell you about all the extra things and unplanned things that have happened, all of the planned things, and what like has happened in not just my bills, but also the expenses that have been added, what I've done to my whole entire budget, not just the bills section, and also some mindset shifts that I've had to work on and be okay with, right? Because that is just everything that comes with having a baby. So let's jump into the bills that I added. The very first bill that I added that I knew was going to happen was having a C-section. Like, I've had a C-section with all of my children, so this one was one that was planned. I thought I was going to have a VBAC with my last daughter. That didn't end up happening, so this go around, I'm like, it's probably just safest to just have him naturally this go around, right? Or not naturally, as a C-section. So we just planned that from the get-go, and that's what the plan was. But things did happen when he came out. He had and I'm going to butcher how you pronounce this, but like an inaugural hernia, which is where like his intestines were going down into his testicle. And so that made it to where we had to have a little bit of a surgery at 2 months old, which it wasn't like a life or death surgery, but it was something that helped him out and he needed to have done, because it could have been like lots of issues could have came from that, and it was just better to get it fixed rather than wait, right? I feel like a lot of times they might say to wait until they're a year old, but since he came out this way, instead of having it happen, we just kind of took care of it right away. So that was another bill that came on, right? So we had where I get everything done. I don't like going through the local OBGYN, because the situation is you get whoever's on call when you have the baby. Now, mine, it wouldn't matter because it was a C-section, it was a planned C-section, and so it's like I was going to get my doctor regardless. But at the beginning, I just kind of found a general doctor that I liked that would go into the surgery room with me if I needed her with the C-section, which was a good thing, because this time my baby, he kind of came out, because he was bigger. He came out 9 pounds, 13 ounces. And like the circumference, his head was 15 inches. And they said his foot was the size of a 3-month-old. I'm like, oh my goodness, this baby was big. I knew he was big. Everyone else said that he wasn't. But the way I was carrying, I'm like, dude, he just feels ginormous. Anyways, because he came out so big, he came out, C-section versus naturally. He didn't get all of that junk pushed out of his lungs. So he did get taken back, not to like the actual NICU, but to the nursery. And they watched him for like an hour and then brought him back to me finally so I could start nursing him, right? And so that was, a little bit of a scare. But because of that, I had my doctor in there with me, and she went with my baby back there, and my husband's like, do you want me to stay? Do you want me to go? I'm like, go, because I can't do anything. I can answer questions here, because obviously I'm awake versus asleep. So he went with him, and my doctor went with him, and it wouldn't have been the same. Like, I don't know what would have happened if I would have had my OBGYN doctor, taking care of me and baby, if it would just been the nurses and not my doctor going with, I don't know. I'm just glad that I did it the way I did it, not only because of that, but also because of financially. So because I chose a doctor that was in the hospital, I'm not exactly sure how it works exactly, but I was able to get financial aid for her costs and for the hospital costs because it was all together, versus my friend, she just went through the OBGYN and there's no way to get financial aid that way. And I do have to say, with my first baby, I was like, no, I don't need financial aid. We can pay this bill. There's no reason for it. And then as I had my second baby and our bills, or like our living expenses, were kind of heightening, I'm like, okay, we'll try it. And then this go around, I'm like, yep, we need to try it. Even though we're making a little more income, we still need to try for it, right? Because in my brain, I'm so used to, this is kind of a backstory. So my dad, he was one income as well because my mom was sick. And because of that, he, in order to get the help he needed for people to come and take care of her, we had an extremely low income. I don't know how much he made, but I know he couldn't make over a certain amount in order to get the help that he needed. And so because of that, us living on, with my second daughter and first daughter, is like $50,000 a year. It felt like a whole bunch. And then my husband got a higher paying job, and now we make like 80 to 100 depending on the year, depending on everything that goes on, 1,000 a year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got all this money, I don't know what to do with it. So that mindset shift was definitely something I had to go through. And I'm going, I make plenty of money, I don't need help. It was like a pride thing. But in all reality, we did need that help so that we could put those funds towards other things. And so I did apply for financial aid this go around and was able to get some of that money knocked down. Not all of it, because we are making more than $50,000, right? $50,000 would be a little bit of a stretch these days with how everything is going up. But with a family of 4 living on $80,000 is perfectly comfortable, perfectly fine, and there's no struggle there at all, right? But it could make it difficult when it comes to hospital bills, because those can get really high, especially with like having a C-section and hospital stay, because you have to stay there longer, and all the other things that come with it. And then when my baby also had to go and get another surgery at another hospital, I'm like, oh my gosh. So we were like hoping and praying that we could apply for financial aid there too, because otherwise we would have been struggling a little bit. It's not like we couldn't have done it, but we would have been a little bit tighter and living with less margin than I'd prefer, because I like to have that margin for situations that come up, right? And so the financial aid definitely helped in that aspect, and we jumped on it. We cut back on some of the things that we were doing so that we were able to pay off the OBGYN bill and the surgery that he had to have. We were able to pay those off pretty quickly. The hospital bill, we still have that one because that one's pretty high up there, but it's a lot less than what it could have been. And instead of having 3 separate bills, we now only have 1 bill that we have to take care of, right? And so instead of $200 for each one of them, it's now $200 for one. So that definitely saves us some money, and we're able to throw it at our hospital bill and get that down quicker, and hopefully be able to, fingers crossed, have it paid off by the end of the year. But you know how life can happen. But I do also want to say that we didn't go to the extremes and like get these all paid off where we were struggling and pinching pennies and trying to cut back as much as we possibly could. We've still went camping 2 or 3 times, and we still plan on going camping a few more times this year. We've went out to the movies. We've done fun things as well. So it's not like we are only focusing on paying those bills off, right? So if that's something, if you ever do come and work with me, if you want some wiggle room still and not put all that money towards only bills, then that is what you can do. You do not have to put every single ounce of energy of your money into paying off bills if that's not something that you want to do. If you're okay with taking longer for that bill to get paid off, then by all means do that. Like, that's what we did. We wanted to go camping. We wanted to have a fun summer. And so yes, it did take a little bit longer to get those bills paid off, but it did happen. Okay, so that's what happened in the bills area of the budget. The expenses that then got added, obviously diapers, food, not only because now he's starting to eat because he's 7 months old now, so he's eating food himself, but because I am nursing, I am eating more food. Like, I feel like I'm hungry all the time. I'm trying to have good vitamins to get the, stay hydrated. That's what I'm trying to say. The electrolytes that I need. I'm focusing more on not just getting it in my system and getting whatever. I am trying to be health conscious and get a cleaner brand, I should say. So yes, it's going to be a little more expensive, right? Other expenses that were added was obviously like taking a trip to Omaha, which is where we needed to go to have the surgery, which was a 4-hour trip. So we needed a place to stay. We needed the place like to eat during those times, right? So that was more expenses that we had to take care of. Clothes are another thing that we needed to buy, and we can borrow them from friends. So that's something I need to look into for the next stage, because we're definitely, since he's such a big boy, we are already into 12-month clothing at 7 months. And here shortly, we're going to be in the 12 to 18-month clothing. So he is growing quickly and definitely ready for more clothes. And I feel like you just go through clothes like crazy because they just pop up, right? They just grow so quickly. So those are more expenses that then had to be added to the budget. But obviously the ones that are recurring for every single month is the diapers, the food, the vitamins, and electrolytes, right? Those are the things that are constantly coming up. The clothes are roughly, every 3 months-ish, which still is a lot for clothes, especially since they can be pretty pricey. I found a place that I like to buy them in Omaha where they are like $1 each clothing item, and I love it. They're not the greatest because the clothing store itself is like an actual Goodwill store, but then the clothes that don't get picked very often get put back into another store, which is in called the resale store, and everything's $1. So it is not the best, and they are kind of dingy and not great. So you have to be careful of shrinkage and all that stuff, but they're still really good because the speed at which they grow through them, there's no reason to buy brand new clothes, in my opinion. And also, I live out in the country, so I don't really want the good clothes. My clothes are going to get dirty. They are not going to stay clean no matter how hard I focus on cleaning them. Plus, I don't really care about cleaning my clothes that good if they're just play clothes. So I would rather just buy already dingy play clothes instead of buying brand new and watch them get dingy. It hurts my heart. My daughters sometimes get some new clothes, and sometimes they're white because they're the ones on sale. And I just watch them go from being pretty bright white to being covered in all kinds of dirt stains and food stains and all the things, because that's their purpose, is to be used for playing in, right? So I'm just I'm not going to worry about getting the stains out of them. Now, the good clothes, yes, I will definitely work more and harder on that, but not the play clothes. So I definitely like this store because I don't have to worry as much about them getting dirty or shrinking, because that's all already happened. Okay, so then what has happened to my overall budget? I have had to rework my budget because of adding bills and paying them off, and adding more bills and paying them off. It's not all been at the same exact time, more times than I would like to count, right? It's happened more frequently. Usually I have a set it and forget it kind of budget, but because of everything that's happening, I've had to be more active in my budget, which I haven't really liked because I'm still in like that postpartum mindset and I'm tired because little boy is just not sleeping. I cannot get that figured out for him. And so because of that, I just don't like to do the numbers and the constant math. It just makes my brain tired. But my budget planner has made me stay consistent with it, which I am so grateful for. And I have been staying on top of it and making sure that everything is getting paid and taken care of because I have not been able to just set it and forget it, right? So I've reworked my budget. And the goal of reworking the budget again, right, was just to put as much excess money as we could towards the budget. So that meant things that I was saving for, I kind of hit a pause on my sinking funds for like the time being so we could get those bills paid off and not have as many separate bills to focus on. And now I need to go back through and make that be a goal of building those back up because, you know, right now Christmas is looking pretty thin because I haven't saved anything for it. Plus I've got tires that I need to buy. And well, before I get into that, that's a little bit of what next week's going to be. But there's more things that I need to get. This year is just a lot when it comes to the finances. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving pieces, not only because of the baby, but because of other things in life, which again, I kind of alluded to earlier. You will find more about next week. But, you know, the budget, we reworked it so that we could throw as much money as we could towards paying off that debt, but still enjoying life at the same time. And I used savings to pay the debt off faster. And so we do need to rework it again to put a little more money into the savings because it is getting pretty thin. And so we feel a little bit more comfortable should something come up again. But at the same time, I want to get that debt paid off. I've got 2 out of the 3 paid off for baby coming into this world. I've got 1 more that needs to get paid off, and fingers crossed, like I said, it'll get paid off by the end of the year. But, you know, there's still lots of things going on. So, yeah, it's just, that's what's going on with the budget itself. The overall, how many times I've had to rework it. Oh, my brain. I get crabby every single time I have to do it because there's so much I have to think about, right? Okay, and then the mindset work I've had to do about cutting back on expenses and living a little tighter of a lifestyle because I have gotten comfortable with what we were doing with the little bit cushier lifestyle. I went from 50,000 to 80,000. I'm like, oh, I've got all this money. I don't know what to do with it. And now I kind of got into a good rhythm. And then we had to cut back again to get these debts paid off. And now I'm just like, oh, okay, I got to be okay with that. But I still want to enjoy life. I don't want to be tied down or bogged down by all this debt, right? So we are working on paying off our debt as quickly as we can without like making ourselves feel stressed out about it, right? Because that is a big thing when it comes to paying off debt and it comes to living the life you want on one budget. You also have to think about like, what is my limit of cutting back? Do I have a limit? Does my husband have a limit? That's going to make you start feeling stressed, overwhelmed, fearful, worried, like all the things that just run through your mind about if you cut back and you put that money towards a debt right away, because that is what I suggest you doing so you can get it paid down quicker. It's a set it and forget it kind of system, right? But if you put it to where your actual needs are cut so thin that if you need to buy a new pair of shoes, you can't, that is not a life I want you to live. That is not the way I want you to set up your budget. I want you to have wiggle room. I want you to have margin, even if you're focusing on cutting back, right? Even if you're trying to like get your bills paid off as quickly as possible, you still have to have some wiggle room that makes you feel comfortable should something happen. Now, your limit and my limit can be totally different. I know my limit and my husband's limit are different. They are not the same. So we have to find a happy medium in between. And that is something that you have to work on. You have to talk about it. And that can be so hard. Talking about finances with your spouse. I know there's lots of times I get in my own head and I'm like, fine, you just do the budget then. I'm done. You take care of it. But have I actually said that to him? No, it's just ran through my brain. I'm like, yeah, no, we would be in not a very good place financially if he were to run the finances. Not because he couldn't do it, just because he's been out of it so long, because I've taken care of it so long. And he just doesn't have as much drive as I do to get things done. And he doesn't know what's going on in the budget. Like, I tried to talk to him about it. I tried to tell him what's going on. And he still just kind of is like, yeah, you're taking care of it, whatever. And so that is something that we definitely have to work on, and talking and communicating. I know the other day I was like, babe, I totally love going out to eat with you. And I love that you just want to do it. But you need to start looking at the budget before you do it, because I feel like I am the Debbie Downer every single time I say, well, have you looked at the budget? Or where's this money coming from? Do you know how much money we have? Like, are we able to go out to eat? But it's always like in the moment. We're already where we're going when this conversation happens. So sometimes we have to pull from the savings in order to pay for this going out to eat splurge, right? Because it wasn't planned for. But that could also be part of my problem, where I need to plan to go out to eat more often, right? And I don't, because I want to cut back as much as possible. And so there is so many things like in between that we need to sit down and we need to talk about, and we need to figure it out. And it's not something that we can just snap our fingers and have. There's always tweaks that are going to happen. There's always life that's going to happen. And you have to just be okay with the ebb and flow of things, and being okay with changing things up, which is so hard. When it comes to change, I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. I want to stick with what we have. I want to live on the bare minimum so that we can have all this extra money and we can do all these things. But is that reality? Is that the right mindset? Probably not, right? Okay, so I do want to put a little plug in there that this is what I do. I can help you get those bills paid down quickly. I can help you get your expenses figured out to where you don't feel so confined by your expenses that you just want to pull your hair out, that you're stressed, that you're worried that you're not going to be able to pay your bills, or that that's all you can do. You can only pay your bills. You can only get your food. You can't do anything fun. You got to cut costs all the time. Now, yes, cutting costs is a good thing, but doing it to the extent where you are burnt out and running on low and not wanting to do it anymore, especially if you are living in like fight or flight, then that is going to make things so much harder. And so I want to invite you to reach out to me to ask your questions, or to just jump on a call with me and let's see if we are a good fit, right? Let's get together, talk about what it is that your goals are, where you would like your finances to be, what it is that you want to achieve, and where you want to be in the future, right? What do you want your money to do? Like, the sky is the limit on what you want to do with your income. Now, yes, you do have to make sure that your husband wants to do it as well, right? You have to be on the same page. But the sky is the limit. You can dream big. You can buy that camper. You can remodel your kitchen. You can do whatever you want. Yes, on 50, on 80, on 100,000. If that's all you make, you can do the things that you want to do. But it starts with getting your budget straight. It starts with figuring out where your bills are. It starts with getting everything on an even laid plate, right? That's not a very good analogy, but to get everything repeatable, to get the numbers to be the exact same thing every single time, and to make a set it and forget it kind of budget. So if that's what you're looking for, definitely reach out to me at mollybonnell@gmail.com and let's connect. Let's get things figured out so that we can get your budget going where you want it to be. Get your bills paid off, get your savings built up so that you are not stressing over your money, and you can start dreaming about the things that you want to do with your finances. Okay, so with that being said, I will see you right back here next week on another episode, and I pray that you have a fun and blessed and excited week. Hey Mama, I pray that today's episode has inspired you and grew you. If so, will you please share it with that friend who is praying for a budget breakthrough, and leave a rating and review so that you can help get the podcast out to other mamas struggling with their budget. Also, get some support for yourself by joining my free Facebook group and becoming an insider, where you get weekly support emails and are the first to find out when something new is on its way. You can find the links in the show notes, and I will see you right back here next Tuesday.